Welcome to Let the People Know right here on Comcast 190. I'm your host, Jeannine Lesante, and we're happy to be here in Greater Pottsville. As you can see in 2020, lots more programming here. We are local, talking to local people, and we hit on topics that affect the local market. We are here talking about the local business community and how you can get involved in your community. If you're involved in business, if you want to be involved in business, if you want to get out and you want to learn about business, we can help you out on this show. We are going to focus on women in leadership today, one of my very interesting topics that I love talking about. And today we're with Cynthia Mensch. She has been with the Schuylkill Chamber of Commerce for many years.
Yes.
You've been on the program before.
I have, yes.
And I feel like you've been with the Schuylkill Chamber of Commerce forever.
I got involved about 7-8 years ago.
Yes.
Yes.
So you actually run the Schuylkill Women in Business program.
Yes.
So Women in Leadership.
That's right.
How do you think women in leadership has changed over the last decade?
I think there's a lot of changes with today's young professionals, and when they come out, they have different goals and different values and things that they're looking for in their business. They're very good at keeping a balance in their lives. Back in the day, that was something I think my generation struggled with. We don't really keep as much of a balance. We try to do it all, and I think that's something that I'm learning from some of the younger women that come out to our luncheons.
When you look at what matters most to women in the workforce, especially the younger generations moving up, it is having the flexibility and that freedom. And I believe that technology has a lot to do with that, with having them have their cake and eat it too. They can be a mom, they can be a woman in business, they can be that professional and really go after the goals that they have both professionally and personally.
Absolutely. Again, I'm aging myself, but back in the day, I was a stay-at-home mom, so I stayed home with my kids. And then once they went off to school, then I went back to finish, to go on back with my career. And I look now at my daughter and other young professional women, and I think, how do they do it? How are they balancing everything? It's just, I applaud them. It's so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. You, as far as your role here with the Chamber of Commerce, what is the goal of the Women in Leadership?
I believe our goal with Schuylkill Women in Business is to relate to all women in business and to be able to connect them. There's a lot of networking that happens during our luncheons and when we meet with each other. I love how when we need something, we email, text, call each other so that we can say, hey, I'm really looking for this, or I need help in this area. So we work with each other. And also professional development so that we can learn to grow and find out new things and how we can be a better businesswoman as well as a better woman in general.
So much is made more out in the open than it is. There are open discussions about how difficult it is to be a woman in leadership, how it is when you're, maybe the executive of a company versus a man's role in the company. So really networking with this group and being able to talk about anything from, hey, what am I wearing? Or what are we talking about? Or how do you handle this situation in our leadership position? Am I too bossy? Am I a pushover? Am I a flirt? All these things that women have to deal with that I believe are more challenging than if they are male.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's also, the other part is mentorship. I see that happens naturally with Schuylkill Women in Business. The women come out to the luncheons, they love them, they love the networking, they love the professional development, the speakers, but also the mentorship that happens with it. You find yourself as a mentor and a mentee. You know, there's like women that I look up to and I aspire to be like, and then there's also women I love to help get to that point.
And you say, oh, I'm going through that too. I'm not the only one going through this. Or, you know, maybe you're raising teenagers and you have a personal problem and you're trying to do your work schedule. And that's something that you really connect with people and they could really help you out. Or, you know, maybe you're an older woman and you're dealing with trying to learn social media, and then you meet someone at one of these networking events and they help you out. So I feel that really any part of the spectrum,
yes,
you have women working together, helping each other out on issues that aren't just affecting you, so you aren't alone.
Exactly.
And you learn this when you come to networking events like the ones with women in leadership and through the Schuylkill Chamber of Commerce. What are some of the fun things coming up that people can get involved with, you know, throughout the year?
We have luncheons once a month, except for during the summer. And the big one that's coming up that everyone gets excited about is our annual speed networking. It's kind of like speed dating. We have about 40, 50 women that attend that event, and round tables, and we figure it out. The staff here is amazing how they figure out how it all works. And we time it so everyone gets a chance to talk at the table and say who they are and give their elevator speech, and talk a little bit about their company. And then it's awesome because then afterwards you can just see the women meeting with one another afterwards, like, oh, I really need to talk to this one, she's in banking, or I really need to talk to this one, she's in education, or whatever it is, and they connect, and then helps them, you know, in their career.
Right, so they can pick out who they want to talk to in a more length of time. You bring that business card. Maybe it's someone out there who's new to business and they really are shy, so it kind of gives them that push, you know, to really get involved. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Well, Cynthia, thanks for joining us.
Sure.
I know you'll be on later this year with more talks of what the Chamber does and your involvement in this community. Thank you for everything you do. I know you've been here for many, many years volunteering your time.
Yep, I love being involved in the Chamber. It's helped me at Alvernia. It's helped me grow the center. So it's been a great plus in my life, professionally and personally.
Very good. Thank you so much. We're with Cynthia Mensch. Again, she is involved with the Schuylkill Women in Business. She is the chair for Women in Leadership. When we come back, we have another guest with us. She's the Assistant Executive Director and Director of Career and Technical Education for the Schuylkill Technology Center. It's Shannon Brennan joining us. Stay with us right here on Let the People Know. Welcome back to Let the People Know. We're talking about women in leadership roles here at the Schuylkill Chamber of Commerce. And right now, my guest is Shannon Brennan. And she's the first vice chair for the board of directors here. And she has all these other titles. I don't know how she gets everything done because we're going to talk about the 3 businesses that you have and your other full-time job. And then sometimes you sleep in between there,
Occasionally.
I'm thinking. So thank you, Shannon, for joining us here on the program.
Thanks for having me.
So talk about your role here, first of all, with the Chamber and how you add value with these women in leadership
Sure,
positions.
yes. So my current position here is I'm first vice chair of the Chamber Board of Directors, which means I will take on the chairperson role for next academic year, so for 2021. Okay. I joined the Chamber in 2006, so I joined the board then and served on committees, and then worked with a bunch of folks and joined the executive committee for the Chamber in 2016. And so my role here is involved. I'm involved in the awards committee. I chair the education committee. I've sat on the budget committee. I facilitate some of the training programs for leadership and executive leadership, and then also our Young Entrepreneurs Academy.
When someone out there is watching the program right now and they're seeing us interview women in these leadership positions, explain to them, you know, how you manage the time to do your personal life, your professional life. Where do you fit it all in?
Well, it's challenging, I think, for any woman to manage. I live by my calendar, so you know, I schedule the time. And
I'm laughing because I do too.
I really try to do that. I try to schedule things, and you know, without my my Outlook calendar and my phone, I never know where I'm supposed to be. But I think it's just important to set priorities, and then to make sure you budget in time for each of those priorities.
Priorities and boundaries.
Right.
Boundaries as in you can fill that calendar up from morning, noon, and night, but you know, if you have to block out their me time or take a breath time for 15 minutes, you need to schedule out those boundaries of sometimes saying no.
Yeah, and that's important. I think everyone has to learn to get to that point where they're willing and comfortable saying no to some things. I mean, you absolutely can't do everything. So, you have to get to the point where you pick what it is that's most important to you and, to your community and the organizations you work with. And then for other things, sometimes you have to say no, and it just has to happen that way.
Yes. So women leadership roles and their role in the community, how have you seen that change throughout the chamber since you've been on board and throughout, leading into having millennials a part of this?
Sure. I think I think we've seen the makeup of the Chamber of Commerce Board change over, since 2006. Certainly there are many more women in leadership roles within the community and thus on the board. I think the inclusion of the Schuylkill Young Professionals Organization into the Chamber of Commerce is amazing. The YPO has just brought such energy to the community, and some new businesses have popped up from young professionals, and it's just exciting to see. I think it brings new life into it. And I think certainly having women, and certainly women of various generations involved, changes the conversation. It changes how we communicate. Evolve.
Now you're involved with 3 different businesses?
I am, yes.
And what are those?
We started our first business in a spa at the plaza, which provides massage therapy services.
What have you learned about the market, dealing with women in business, dealing with those different positions?
The biggest thing I've learned is that it's important to network. Networking and accessing community resources are vital to success of business. Our business would not have opened had it not been for the small business administration services that were provided within Schuylkill County. I mean, our first business opened with an SBA loan, and we met bankers through our relationships with the chamber, and we met our accounting firm through the relationships with the chamber, and we met all of those types of organizations through networking, and they've really helped us manage it all. I mean, if you've got good professional staff, working with you as a partner, it just helps everything kind of flow.
And not to be a promotion for joining the Schuylkill Chamber of Commerce. However, when you look at the value of what a membership is and what you actually get out of it, I feel it's what you put into it is what you're going to really get out of it.
Absolutely. It gives you access, but you only get that access if you can join. But if you don't go to any events and you don't participate, then you're not getting the most out of it. But if you go and you meet folks, it just opens opportunities. So it's been helpful for me personally and professionally, I would say.
Very good. Where do you see the chamber going in the next few years with, you'll be put on as the board of director chair?
Yes. Our goal is to, I think my goal as I look at my new year is to try to work with our industry partners in helping on workforce development initiatives. As someone who works full-time for Schuylkill Technology Center as the director of a CTE, I'm very, very integrally involved in helping young people connect with industry. And so I see the chamber as a vehicle to help that partnership grow. So that's really what I'm hoping that we work on for next year.
Nice.
But we'll see how it turns out.
And as we talk about women in leadership positions and work looking at women in business, how do you feel your role is as being in a leadership position and working with men and women? Do you see it as a challenge? Do you see it as, that we're moving forward with it's kind of more of like the natural feel? Because I've been seeing more people in, leadership, strong women involved in their organizations and involved in businesses.
I think we have a responsibility to set an example, and I think certainly women in leadership roles have the responsibility to mentor other folks as needed. I mean, I was very fortunate to have some great mentors who were there to provide guidance to me. And I feel like it's my responsibility just, to be that vehicle if someone would ask, certainly not to impart my wisdom, not, necessarily without someone asking, but, if an individual is looking for how did this path work, to be there, to share that information. But I don't see any difference. I mean, I think the folks that I've worked with in the community, male and female, are very respectful of, just the changing culture. The environment's very positive and open.
Yeah. Vibe in Pottsville has been great.
That's too.
I'd like to say Greater Pottsville because I know the Schuylkill Chamber of Commerce has they're centered in Pottsville, but they have a big area that you cover.
Absolutely. Correct.
Very good. Well, thank you for joining us here. Again, you can support all of these local businesses that Shannon is a part of. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, we have an entrepreneur with us. Of course, she's a woman here, a strong woman in business here in Schuylkill County. Stay with us right here on Let the People Know. Would you like to be a woman in business? If so, you can join the Schuylkill Chamber of Commerce. We're here at the Chamber right now in Schuylkill County, and we're talking with women leaders. I'm with an entrepreneur right now, Abby Weaver, and she does a lot of different things. We're talking about a lot of women here who are multitaskers, right, Abby?
That's right.
So you're a co-owner and founder of The Press Coffee and Books. You're a co-owner of Amber LLC, and you're also the marketing director for the Continued Progress Project of Pottsville, which I think is really cool because it has to do with the city and the revitalization that has been going on. There's a lot of positive momentum behind revitalization here in the Pottsville area.
Yeah,
right?
It's all great. It all kind of falls under that bigger picture
that
of
big umbrella
making,
let's make a
bringing
difference.
the city back to life.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So are you from Pottsville? Where are you from?
I'm from Hamburg originally.
Okay, so you're
my
from the area.
Yeah, all grew up. All my friends have always been from Schuylkill County, Haven, Blue Mountain, that kind of thing. So very familiar with it. Yeah.
And you wanted to stay here, give back to the community, open 3 or 4 businesses.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of played out that way. My husband and I got married pretty young, and we traveled a good bit. And when we decided we were going to come and stay somewhere, we wanted it to be Pottsville. Both have family ties to the area, and I really do just believe the city's a really great city and has a lot of potential.
How do you feel about being a woman entrepreneur in business?
So I actually have an education background, not a business background at all. So it was really interesting for me to come from like a very female-dominated space to a business space, which is primarily, I work with mostly males.
Yes.
It's great, honestly. I think there's a lot of space to have a voice in it, more than I think I would have expected, to be honest. And I love it. I think it can be really challenging, just like anything, but a lot of my background in teaching, I feel, gave me a really good foundation to have the organization to be an entrepreneur, which is, I know we already talked about that with a couple of the other guests who were on today, but you've got to be organized or you won't be able to do it all, especially if you're multitasking. And yeah, I mean, it really just kind of has played out really well.
So let's talk about the pros and the cons. What are some of the pros, as you mentioned, when you are in these leadership roles? Although women in leadership roles is growing, we aren't, I wouldn't say 50-50 with men right now. So what are some of the pros with working with all men?
I think some of the pros are definitely, there's a lot of, even in any leadership role, I think there's a lot of flexibility overall, more so than in other roles. And I also get to hear a lot of input and ideas that are different than maybe what my natural inclination is, which is fairly probably more female typical, kind of mothering, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? I get to hear a little bit different from men who would address conflict or issues differently than I would, and see the value of that and really learn from it. And I think that's really only made me stronger as a leader.
What are those challenges? Do you think sometimes you have to be like, hello, my opinion matters?
Yeah, and honestly, just being willing to say those things without feeling guilty for being bossy or something like that, when in reality, especially, I mean, most of my employees are also male. They're also all friends of mine, and so it can be challenging sometimes to even be willing to say, hey, I actually need you to do this. And yet it's never been a problem, you know? And so some of that's just getting over your own insecurity or having some self-awareness there of what you really need to do to get it done.
I've had some employees where they've had, you know, maybe a little bit of uncomfort or issues answering to a woman, and they've said, you know, you're my first woman boss.
Sure.
And they've, that's a conversation that's worth having of, talking it out and communicating, expressing your concerns and your insecurities, and then, building on that.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
So with your businesses, how do you see your connection with the community as far as running your businesses in this area?
I mean, it's integral. Prest really came out of a connection to the community already. I was already doing some marketing work on the Continued Progress project, and my husband and I always talked about opening something like a coffee shop. It happened to happen a lot faster than anticipated when we found the building that we have Prest in right now on Mahantango Street. But really, the community support that has showed up for Prest has been what we expected and more. And I really think that came from being involved in the community, showing that that's a priority and that the bigger vision is about Pottsville and not just this business. Priority is running the business and having that be successful for sure, because that impacts the community. But at the end of the day, it is about doing something that's bringing people to Pottsville, that's highlighting all of the good things that are here. And I mean, I tell people all the time, but if anybody could sit in the coffee shop for 8 hours in a day and just listen to the conversations that happen there, the positivity, the people who want to share stories and who want to connect with people, Schuylkill County is full of really great people.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
You're just like making me feel so happy inside.
Yeah.
I hope we're spreading some light and hoping to make you feel good at home about the positive things, because we can, you can talk about the things that aren't happening, or you can focus on the things that are happening, and really there are some great things happening. So why would someone choose to open a business in a small town like Pottsville?
I mean, honestly, I think it's coming back, right? We've talked a lot for years about how stores left downtown areas and then malls took over and whatever that has looked like, but the reality is I think that's really changing in this generation of people wanting to return to shopping local and shopping small, and that movement has really, I think, impacted people's mindsets on how they want to spend their money and where they want to hang out also. Again, we see that in the coffee shop all the time. They'd rather people come in and talk about wanting to be in that homey space where everybody knows your name and that kind of thing, rather than the Starbucks in a big city or whatever,
Right.
and small towns can be really idyllic in that way, and I think Pottsville definitely has that, and a lot of the communities in Schuylkill County have that potential also.
And what a great thing, you're building up a business that you can enjoy not only for you, but for your children or for the generations to come.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, it was really a matter of we want to live here, we wanted a coffee shop. If we wanted to hang out here all the time, we wanted a place to bring our friends that we could find in other cities, and so it's a matter of just building it,
Nice. What is your advice for someone out there maybe who, just graduated from college, or maybe it's a mom whose kids just went off to college and, she wants to start her own business. So any woman out there or young woman out there who's looking to get out and do it.
Yeah, I mean, I say this to people all the time, but I think the biggest two things are to not stay in a box with it. I had women who talked to me before I started doing marketing work, before I started doing the coffee shop, when I was still working in education, and I talked to some local business women and kind of was like, can I do this? And their answer was to tell me their stories of the 4 different careers that they've had over the course of their life, and say you don't have to stay in one thing.
Well, your life isn't like this. Your life is like this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so I always try to encourage people in that, like, that's true. You don't have to do the same thing it'd be great, but you can do other things too if you have a passion for it. And then the other thing is always to have a team. What we do and all the multitasking and all of the different facets of it doesn't happen without people around you. And to be really particular about that, because you're going to end up leaning on them a lot. So I speak to that a lot whenever people ask me those questions, because that's how everything that Ember has done, that Prest has done, any new business we do survives because of the team with us.
So quickly, Ember is
kind of the parent company.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And that has 2 sides to it. So you have the coffee shop, and then you're opening a brewery.
Yep. Yeah. And then my marketing work all is through Ember as well. Yeah, that's Ember Marketing. So.
Well, Abby, I want to thank you for sharing your insight with us here on SSP TV, and I wish you all the luck with all of your businesses.
Yeah,
we'll have to share a cup of coffee one day together.
Great. That would be awesome.
Okay. And I thank all of you for watching us here when we talk about women in leadership and supporting the Schuylkill Chamber of Commerce. Speaking about supporting, we are seen here on Comcast Channel 190. If you're in Greater Pottsville, that is your cable system. The difference between SSP TV and some of the other programming you see on television is We are local supporting local. So anything you see on our programming is affecting you and this area that you live in. So in Greater Pottsville, it's all topics that pertain to Greater Pottsville, whether it be local business talk, whether it be economic development, whether it be health and fitness. We are going into your community. So if you have any questions, or maybe you have a topic you'd like us to hit on, please reach out to me, Jeannine at SSP TV. You can call our station, you can get in contact with us on social media, but we'd really like to hear from you because we are in this community each and every week. We are bringing you new topics that affect you, of interest to you, and we really would appreciate your support this year. Again, it's Comcast 190, and you can also watch us on cable in the Hazleton market on channel 13, that's Service Electric Cablevision, and you can watch us on ssptv.com. So thanks for listening to us today, and we'll see you next time right here on Let the People Know.